Mariposa County, the home of Yosemite, is rich in history and exquisite beauty. It is a delightful little place full of warm, down-home people that welcome visitors from all over the world to come to see their backyard. The Mariposa County Visitors Bureau is privileged to be able to help you visit us through this program.
When we reach the verdant valley and the winding mountain stream, see great cliffs and waterfalls pass in review. Find the skies by day all sunny and at night bedecked with stars, then we know that we are in Yosemite. Here in Yosemite, fair nature's wondrous gem, our hearts o'erflow with peace and joy and love. Each day from dawn till dawn, only the merry song is ever heard here in Yosemite.
Well, here we are in the southern part of Yosemite National Park. We're in Wawona. I'm standing here with Ranger Jeff Lair. And Jeff, where are we right now?
Well, we're standing right in front of the Pioneer Yosemite History Center. The goal of the History Center is just to preserve the history of some of the pioneers that helped not only create Yosemite National Park, but the entire national park movement.
Okay, now obviously the first question is, we're standing in front of this beautiful old covered bridge. Is this original to Yosemite National Park?
Yes, sir, it is. This bridge, the original bridge, was built here about 150 years ago in the late 1850s, later covered.
And what would it have been used for?
Well, this was the main road to Yosemite. If you wanted to go visit Yosemite Valley, you'd come to Wawona and you'd come right across this bridge.
Now, can we walk across it now?
Let's do it.
What would have been going through this bridge? Stagecoaches, wagons, horses, pedestrian traffic? In other words, this was the only way in or out?
That's it. This was the one way in until the 1870s.
And why was it built as a covered bridge? There are not that many covered bridges in California.
That's true, Huell. There's several reasons that have been given. Maybe the Washburn brothers who covered the bridge were from Vermont originally. Maybe they're just a little homesick and they wanted to preserve that covered bridge history. Some people think maybe it helped preserve the flooring of the bridge. And some people say that in the spring, when the river was rushing below, this helped the horses stay focused and get across that raging river.
And I bet they made a lot of noise. I bet it was loud in there when the horses were going through there.
They were thundering. The drivers were yelling orders to them.
Okay, now we've crossed the bridge and we're in a whole little town here. What is this that we're looking at?
Well, you look at this, and originally it might look like a village, but that's not the case, because originally these houses were not here.
Where did they come from?
Well, they came from all over the park, and at one point in the 1950s, they decided, well, let's take some of these important historic buildings and move them to a central location. And that's how the Pioneer History Center was created.
So these are historic old buildings from all over Yosemite National Park.
Yes, sir. Moved here log by log.
All right, let's take a look. Is there any order as to what we see here?
Well, each one of these represents a chapter in Yosemite's history. We have the artist cabin, and we can go right over here to the oldest cabin here that we have here in the History Center. This cabin originally belonged to a gentleman, a Scot by the name of George Anderson.
So he lived in present-day Yosemite National Park in this little cabin back
would be in the 1860s and 1870s, and he lived in a place which is now called Foresta, which is down by Yosemite Valley.
Wow, that is a wonderful looking little cabin. He built it obviously himself, and he would have been living out in the middle of nowhere.
He didn't have too many neighbors, that's right.
Okay, now you move this here log by log, shingle by shingle, rock by rock. The door is open. Can we go inside?
Let's take a look.
And see what it would have been like back in
the 1860s.
Okay. Boy, George didn't have much this wasn't a very luxurious little cabin, was it?
It was primitive living, huh?
So basically we're talking about a table and a piece of wood and a bench and a crude fireplace here. You got something hanging up over your head here.
Well, if you were living here, you'd share this house with mice, but you wouldn't want to share your flour with them. So he'd hang his flour up there to keep the mice from getting to it.
Wow. And look at the ceiling up here. Would he have things hanging up there too to dry and things like that?
If he needed to store things, he could put them up in the rafters.
That was kind of his open attic. Here's his chair. Look at this over here. Made out of skins.
Deer
animal
skin,
skins.
it looks like there.
And look at this bed over here. Now this doesn't look like it would be very comfortable. Is this the way the pioneers made their beds?
Some of the beds were like that, some were made with ropes, but this would give you a strong back.
Wow. Well, you know what? This isn't too bad, a little cabin. This would have provided everything he needed. What did he do for a living?
Well, George was kind of a jack of all trades. After he jumped off the ship in San Francisco to look for gold during the California gold rush, he didn't find any like so many of the miners. So he came up to Yosemite Valley, and he was a blacksmith, he was a trail builder. But what he's most famous for, he was the first man to ever climb Half Dome.
Wow. So he lived and died here in Yosemite? Did he spend his whole life here?
He spent an important part of his life here. And as I said, he was famous for going up to Half Dome. And of course, Josiah Whitney, who was the state geologist, he said no human foot would ever get to the top of that dome. Yet George went up there and he built spikes and he pounded those spikes into the back of Half Dome, climbed up one, pounded another one, and was the first man up there.
Wow. Well, this was his house right here, complete with his flour hung up to keep it away from the mice. We're back outside, and here's another. Is this a cabin or is this a house?
Looks pretty luxurious, doesn't it? One of the few two-story cabins you'd find in this area.
Now wait a minute. I see this over here. We got a historic outhouse over here.
That's what it is.
Is that historic?
Is that historic? No, sir, that was brand new, built this year, actually.
Well, why do you have an outhouse here?
Well, believe it or not, there are some kids in California who really don't understand the concept
They've never seen an outhouse.
Well, they have if they come to the Pioneer History Center.
That's great. All right, moving on to better things over here. What's the deal on this? This was probably the first two-story house built in this part of California.
It was one of the first. And a matter of fact, this cabin right here was actually more of a summer home for the Hodgsons that lived here. They were ranchers, and they'd come up in the summertime, and they'd come up to these green pastures up closer to Tuolumne in the White Wolf area, and they'd graze their cattle in the summer. So this was just a summer home.
And when was this built and inhabited?
In the 1880s.
And they just donated this to the park, or how did this come to be here?
It's an interesting story about the Hodgsons, because while many people supported John Muir's efforts to create a national park in the 1890s, the Hodgson and other pioneers didn't, because they had land up here. They had their own ranch, and in order to have a national park, they'd have to condemn that land and it would have to be turned over. So they were very much against the national park movement, at least in the ways it affected them.
So this is another page in the history of how Yosemite came into being.
Absolutely.
And look over here. Here's a great shot of the bridge with the sun shining on the side of it. That's a beautiful structure in itself.
Been a lot of painters and photographers capture that bridge.
Wow. Well, this is a great little area here. We've got cabins over here. We've got horses.
That's the
here.
stables. If you want to go for a stable ride here in Wawona, you just go right over there.
All right, now we got a guy up here playing on some kind of a musical instrument. What's that all about?
Well, before we get up there, let me explain it. That's Shelton Johnson. He's a national park ranger and interpreter here, but his specialty is to become a person doing living history. And we're lucky to have him here in the History Center today. And as we approach him, you can't talk to him as Shelton. You have to approach him as Eliza Bowman, Sergeant Eliza Bowman, because he was one of the first protectors of the park. The cavalry were here for 25 years, watching out for the park because we didn't have a park service.
So he represents the Army presence here in the park back in...
Began in 1891, but more importantly than that, Shelton is representing a hidden history of Yosemite, because until a few years ago when he did the research, we didn't realize that the famous Buffalo Soldiers of the plains came over here and were actually part of the cavalry patrols.
And how do we meet him? How do we introduce?
I think you should just walk right up there and introduce yourself to him.
But he's going to be a soldier
He'll be
back
a soldier
then.
in 1902.
Okay. Good afternoon. I'm Huell Howser.
Well, how you doing, sir? My name is Elise Bowman.
Nice to meet you, sir. I'm interested in why you are here in Yosemite. What year is it now?
Well, sir, I'm concerned if you don't know what year it is. When I woke up this morning, it was 1904.
1904.
Looking up at the sun, I'd say it's still 1904.
All right, now why are you here in Yosemite National
I've been
Park?
asking myself that for several months now, over a year, but I'm with Troop K, 9th Regiment of Cavalry, and we first came here last year in '03. We came here in the spring, and we're here to protect Yosemite.
And what is your normal day like? How many soldiers are here, and what do you do?
Well, as far as I can recollect, there's not a normal day in Yosemite. Every day is a little bit different. But the thing I have to get used to being down here at Wawona, our headquarters are right here, just about a half mile from here. It's a little bit too noisy for me down here. I like it up there in the park where it's quiet.
Do you patrol the park with your fellow soldiers?
Yes, sir. That's what we're doing. We have detachments, maybe as few as 3 men, maybe as many as 5, and we're up in the high country, and we're basically patrolling the park. We have a situation where we have patrol posts up there, sub posts, and we go from one post to the next post, and then we get to the one post, we got a ledger, and we take out that ledger, and we write down everything we've seen every step of the way. And it's a hard thing to remember everything you've seen every step of the way, but that's what we got to write down.
And what are you looking for? There's nobody here.
Oh, there's a lot of people here. There's folks up there that are herding sheep where they shouldn't be herding sheep. There's folks up there that don't realize it's a national park and they're cutting trees down. We call them timber thieves. Now, you don't look like a timber thief, so
No,
it's
I'm
probably
not cutting
you.
down anything.
Yeah, you don't got that look in your eye that says I'm after wood. But there's some folks that are up here, they're after the wood because they've been coming in here before the park became a park. And so we're there to make certain that people understand what a national park is all about.
So you're actually representing the United States government here as soldiers and as just to officially let people know this is a park and what the do's and don'ts are of being in a park.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct, sir. It's the 9th Regiment of Cavalry is here, and we're here to make certain that the park maintains itself as a park.
And how many soldiers are here?
Well, with Troop K, there's about 60 of us. There are a few that are still at the Letterman Hospital back at the Presidio, San Francisco. You know, they got that yellow fever when they were fighting in the Philippines. There's some that are in a special detachment down to Sequoia National Park, because the 9th Cavalry is down there as well. But I'd say there's about 120 that were with Troop K and Troop L last year. And there's 2 different troops here now, and it's about the same, about 120.
And these are all African-American soldiers. These are all Buffalo soldiers that have been sent to these 2 parks.
You heard about that name?
Buffalo soldiers,
Yeah.
You're famous.
Yeah, well, I don't know how famous I am. It hadn't done me much good. But we're colored men, you know, and that's an interesting thing, African-American. I guess you look back far enough, you find Africa. But most of us joined the Army because there weren't many options if you grow up in Mississippi or Georgia or Alabama. I grew up in South Carolina, a little town called Spartanburg. So I was looking for a way out, and it was an enlistment officer that showed me the door.
And what do you think about Yosemite, about being out here in this wonderful, wonderful place?
Oh, well, sir, what do you think about church? How does that make you feel? It makes me feel about the same way, you know, because it's about as quiet as a prayer up there. And so every time I'm up there, I feel like I'm in church. But I tell you the truth, it makes me a little bit nervous when I first got here, because most of my men, they fought in the Philippines. They fought fighting the insurrectos. And when it was quiet like that in the Philippines, it was a quiet before a bullet hit you. Mm-hmm. And so the first few weeks we were up in the high country, most of my men, they're a bit nervous. Wow. You know, it makes people concerned when they see colored men with weapons that are a little bit nervous up in the high country. But they calm down after a while when we calm down.
Now, are there many tourists here? Or is it mainly just people who kind of stumble upon this place?
Well, I suspect you're a tourist too, sir. But
I'm a tourist.
Most of the folks we run into, like yourself, they come up here to see the park and see what it's all about. Mm-hmm. And they ask us directions. They're trying to get somewhere. They're up in the high country. We spend most of our time up in the high country. And by that, I mean the park. Mm-hmm. You know, because if you in the Mariposa Grove, the big trees, you're not in the park. That's the state of California. You in Yosemite Valley, that's the state of California. But when they're up in the park and we find them, everybody there looks that same sort of look. Same sort of look in their eye, like they've been looking for something all their life and they found it up there.
Yeah, just like you have.
Oh yeah. I tried to get away from something, but I never knew I'd find it here in California.
Now, you were playing an instrument when we walked up. What is the story here?
Oh, this is called a plains flute. Sometimes folks call it a cedar flute. And I got this when I enlisted. I enlisted at Fort Robinson, Nebraska in '83, and I got it from a soldier with the 10th Cavalry. He's a real Buffalo soldier. He fought Indians. I was just doing mostly garrison duty, which is, you're a sentry. You're just looking out for trouble and hoping it don't find you. That's what I was doing. And he walked up to me and he said, "You look musical." I thought that was the funniest greeting I ever heard. And I said, "I look musical. That's the strangest greeting. You must be from Mississippi." And he was from Mississippi. And he said, "I want you to have this." I said, "I don't even know you. You going to give me this flute?" He said, I said, "Why are you going to do that?" He said, "I can't stand the sound of it." Now, that's when I knew he was from Mississippi. Because, give me something that's broken, And he said, "It's not that it's broken. It's that whenever he played it and it sounds something like this. It's really sad like this. He played something like that. He said it was after a battle. After a battle, he heard someone playing this. It was an old man. I think he was fighting, I don't know if it was the Lakota, the Sioux, the Cheyenne, but he said there was a man playing this, and there were women, and the women were crying, and the children were screaming because of what had happened. There's all that smoke in the air, and as the smoke began to clear, he saw this little old man sitting there, this Indian man, playing this flute, and that sound of that flute went right over the battlefield. And so whenever he played it, it took him back. And I don't know if you've ever been a soldier, but if you've been in a battle, you don't want some things to take you back there. Some places you weren't meant to go back to. And so he gave this to me because he couldn't stand the sound of it no more.
So you've taken it, and this is an Indian instrument from the plains.
That's right.
And brought it here to Yosemite, and you play it here.
That's right.
At night around the campfire for your fellow soldiers,
That's right,
or just
sir.
for yourself when you're out sitting on a rock.
No, sir, I play it for my men.
Yeah.
Because I'm a sergeant, and so I'm usually yelling at them all day. And so I want them to be settled when they sleep, so they got a lot of energy in the morning. So I play this for them at night so they'll go to sleep.
Well, we're going to let you play for us. It's certainly been nice meeting you. Good luck to you and your fellow soldiers here in Yosemite.
Well, thank you, sir. And you're a nice man. Where are you from?
I'm from Los Angeles.
Los Angeles. I heard some good things about Los Angeles. Well, sir, from Los Angeles, you just keep in mind when you're up in the park, as pretty as those trees are, leave them standing. They're rooted to the earth. They've been there a long time. Don't be up there pulling them down. And you see somebody grazing sheep, you tell them they shouldn't be grazing sheep in the national park. And the 9th Cavalry will go find them and we'll explain the rules to them.
Thank you very much. You all are doing a great job here. Thank you for protecting our park. And let's hear you play a little bit of this wonderful music. Wow, that was certainly interesting. That was amazing.
Sergeant Bowman had a lot of stories, didn't he?
And I bet he's very popular here with the visitors, and he represents another part of this history center. From time to time, you have living history people in each one of these buildings representing that particular person who would have been in that structure.
Sometimes we have volunteers here for the entire season, and they spend the first few weeks doing research, finding out about these characters, obvious like Shelton had done with his character. And then for the rest of the summer, the visitors come in and they interact just, well, like Shelton did with you.
Yeah. Now, this isn't going on all the time, but you can always come by here and just visit these structures. And this is an interesting structure, you say, as far as the evolution of the history of the park is concerned.
The basic cabin, isn't it? But you know what this cabin represents was a transition, as we saw with Major Bowman right there, or I'm sorry, Sergeant Bowman, that was the cavalry, that was the army that was coming in here. At this point, in about 1914, 1915, we had legislation and creating the National Park Service in 1916, and we had the civilian rangers coming in. So these were men who originally had worked with the cavalry as scouts, and they became the first civilian rangers, and this is what this cabin represents.
So this is a ranger cabin, and the rangers took over from the army.
That's right.
All right, we're all learning as we go along, and this looks like a Swiss chalet, but I know that's not what it is because it's got Wells Fargo and Company Express on the front of it. What in the world was this beautiful, beautiful structure doing out here in the forest?
Well, it wasn't in the forest at this time. This was Yosemite Valley, and this was 1915. And Yosemite Valley was kind of a growing little village or community right there. And this was the communications hub. If you came here, you'd come here if you wanted to make a telephone call. You could even send messages around the world with a telegraph.
So this would have been really one of the only ways to communicate in and out of Yosemite National Park here in this particular structure.
That's right, and the stages were coming here, and about this time was another transition from stagecoaches to automobiles.
How in the world did you all move this thing from, this was originally down in Yosemite Valley? How did you move this? This looks like a very complicated move to me.
Well, every building had its own challenges. With this particular building right here, it was more or less sawed in half, and it was squeezed together because they had to get it through those tunnels that go through the mountains here at Yosemite.
Wow, this is absolutely beautiful. In fact, this whole village is beautiful here, a village that's not really a village, but a collection of structures from all over the park representing different chapters in the park's history.
That's right. So what we have here is a timeline.
Oh boy, here comes the stagecoach. And he's making pretty good time too. Good afternoon. I'm Huell Howser. What's your name?
Burlmeyer.
Well, tell us about this, what this represents here.
Well, this is a California mud wagon at Yosemite Park. There's two kinds of stages. This is called the mud wagon style. If you notice, there's no sides on it. Wawona, where you're at right here, was a very large stagecoach stop. They had as many as 16 wagons a day coming through here.
So this was, there was a lot of traffic coming through here.
A lot of traffic. I mean, if you figure 16 stages with 4 horses on a coach, 27 miles down to Yosemite Valley. You left here at 8 o'clock in the morning on a 4-horse coach, arrived down in Yosemite Valley around 4 in the afternoon.
Now, what years was this?
This was about from 1879 to 1915. This was the busiest place in all of Yosemite, was right here at Wawona.
And where would all of these people be coming from?
Well, San Francisco by stage is 36 hours away nonstop.
Well, 36 hours.
36 hours. Wawona was a destination point. And what you would do, you know, up on the hill is the oldest hotel in Yosemite, the Wawona, and that's where most of the guests would stay. And once they stayed, they would stay here for like 6 weeks at a time.
Oh my gosh. Well, this is wonderful. Can we ride with you on this for a minute? This is, you give rides to tourists who come here for the History Center.
All the general public, lots of them. I mean, I'll tell you what, on a daily basis, the visitor gets to take a ride how it would have been. We could be taken out of an early California book, Yosemite Stage book, 1915. This is how it would have been. The way I look, the way the wagon looks, the harness on the horses, everything.
Now, you don't give any 36-day
well, here's what it is.
Trips. How many hours was it?
Well, we give about a 10-minute ride.
You're not taking them all the way to San Francisco.
No, sir. No, sir. But I'll tell you what, the year I represent is 1915. I'm a stage driver. I make $40 a month. I take a bath once a week, and I drink a lot.
Well, from the smell of things, it's either your horses or it's time for you to take a bath.
Well, I think it might be Saturday coming up quick.
I think so. Thank you very much, Ranger. This has been absolutely great. The name of this place again is?
You're at the Pioneer Yosemite History Center.
And it's open for people to come and enjoy, just like we have today. And we've got to give credit where credit is due, because, Jerry, you represent the Yosemite Fund.
Right.
And tell us just a little bit about the fund and what you've done here.
The Yosemite Fund is a private foundation that raises money for projects in the park that are above and beyond what the federal government can do. 70,000 people over the past 10 years or so have contributed money for things like the stage.
Restoring the stage.
The harness on these horses. Actually, these horses, we just replaced these horses just last year.
The covered bridge.
The covered bridge you've been across. The Wells Fargo Bank and some of the other buildings in the Pioneer History Center.
So you're doing good work here in Yosemite to bring this park up to snuff and just
That's
have
right.
everything perfect.
The idea is to enhance the visitor experience, restore the natural resources and the cultural resources for the visitor.
Well, you have helped enhance our experience here today. Thanks a lot. Now, where do I ride if I'm a paying customer? Do I ride in the back? Can I ride shotgun with you, or?
I think we need a shotgun with me up here. Would be great.
All right, how do
Come
I
around
get
the
on
side
on the other side, and we'll just get a shot of us heading on off here.
Crawl right up the wheel, right up the hub. And
Oh, you come right up the hub.
There you go. You've done this before.
Yes, I have.
There you go.
Wow, this is great. Now, what year is this?
1915.
And this is called a Yosemite Mud Wagon. And when it pulled into Wawona from somewhere like San Francisco, it would be loaded. With tourists, with passengers ready for a great Yosemite experience.
You bet. They get the experience of the whole experience. I mean, the experience that they got then is the same that they have now, is experiencing Yosemite.
All
Just at a
right, we're
different
heading
time.
off.
Here we go. All aboard.
All aboard. Here we go.
All that out, boys.
Whoa.
Hot diggities. Hey.
Hey, getting up there, boys. Hey. Hey.
Yeah, these seats have some great springs on them, I tell you. Here we come.
Hot diggities.
As we pull up in front of the Wawona Hotel, Burl was telling me that you have a distinction in the National Park Service, Burl.
As being the only stagecoach driver / park ranger there is.
So your job classification is stagecoach driver,
Park ranger.
park ranger. Thank you very much. This has been absolutely wonderful. Let me get down off this thing. We've been on the road for 36 hours. I'm a little sore.
And you look pretty good.
All right, here we go.
We'll see you later now.
Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
And here to greet us, now
Welcome
this
to
is an
Wawona.
official greeting, right?
Thank you. Welcome to the Wawona Hotel.
Tell us a little bit about this hotel, because this is one of the most famous structures anywhere in Yosemite National Park.
That is true. This hotel was built back in late 1800s. This particular building right here was built in 1979 and is still holding up.
Pretty much just like it always
Just like
was.
it was.
And famous presidents have stayed here.
Yeah, one of them being
Teddy Roosevelt.
and President Truman.
So the presidents have been here, and now who is this hotel open to? And
It's
can
open.
anybody stay here?
It's open to any president and any guest, you and me.
You don't have to be rich
You
to
don't
stay
have to
here.
be rich to stay here.
And
That is
people
correct.
come here for what reason?
Just to relax. There's no TVs, no phones, just lay back.
Wow, this is wonderful. And it's right here. Look at the trees coming up over the roof up here. Those are old
Those
trees.
are about 100 years old. Those are babies.
Wow.
We have some older ones that are about 3,000 years old.
What a wonderful place to end up this particular adventure we have had today. This is, you don't know all the things we've done, but we have had a great day. Actually, we spent the afternoon over at the History Center, which is just right over from your hotel.
You enjoy that?
A wonderful, wonderful time over the old covered bridge and in all the little houses over there, and then riding the old stagecoach.
Did you go by the golf course?
Hadn't been by the golf course
Oh,
yet.
you got it. It's the second oldest golf course in the Sierras.
Really?
Yes, it was built in 1917, 1918.
So there's a little bit of everything here in Yosemite National Park. We have had an absolutely wonderful, wonderful day. We're tuckered out, so maybe we can go in and see if you can get us a room.
I'll show you around.
Maybe get us a room at the
Let's see what we
PBS
got.
rate.
We could do that. It just went up.
Goodbye, everybody.
Wawona moon abound, you're smiling down on me. You know that I'm in love. Your light brings ecstasy, gleaming through the pines. Your golden face I see. Oh, shine forever, my Wawona